Hey, this is Rich over at TVP Live with another quick tips tutorials brought to you by Adobe Photoshop Elements Custom Tutorials Group. And let's jump right in with today's poster one. It's now how to fix this right photo to match the left photo. Apparently they were taken on two separate days, and they wanted to make this right one, which looks like it was taken in a much more cloudy day. So the overcast doesn't show the harsh shadows of the sun over here. And you can see there's actually a color difference. Everything on this one is greener. You can see the water is greener compared to this one, and her skin tone is greener. Here its skin tone is more on the red side. So if we want to make this one look a little bit more like this, we're going to use what I call keyhole editing. That's where you make copies of the same picture and cut holes where you want things to be different behind it. And that will give us this look of the sun hot spots showing through. And then we can fix the background separately. So in order to do that, let's take this particular layer, and I'll first make a copy. So I'm going to right click and hit duplicate layer. And this will create two exact duplicates. The reason I do that is because I want to leave the bottom copy for the background water, so I can change that later on. Now the upper layer, this one here, what we want to do is cut out the water so that it allows us to see through the edges here, and we'll see the background layer down here. So what I'm going to do is we could use the magic tool and we could use layers, but I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way with a eraser and erase all along the edges of her, because if we use the magic tool, see this fuzziness of the hair here? This is not going to work very well with the magic tool. And if you also zoom in really close, you're going to see that these hard line edges are not very hard. They're actually really fuzzy. So using a small point eraser, something like a 10 point here, and it's a soft brush eraser, and I can just simply erase along the edges of our subject. And it's that simple. I'll zoom out and erase the whole piece. And the reason we see black behind is because we have this black background. So I can turn it off and erase along the edges here, or I can just leave it on, and it makes it easier for me to see exactly what I'm doing or what I've done. When I get to the hair here, to soften the cutout, I'm going to bring the brush and double the size to a 20 point, so it's a little bit bigger, and this gives me a little bit more playroom and softens the edges of the hair. Once I get down here where I meet up where I started, then I can take the polygon tool right over here and come down here, make sure it's the polygon, not the lasso, the polygon, and I'm going to cut out her whole image and then delete the background. So I'll come down here and start on one edge and basically just cut out in between where I erased, making sure not to touch either side. Stay right in the middle. Once I get down here to the point that I started, I'm going to simply double click here and it closes the marching ants. I'm going to zoom out and you'll see that I made a polygon that encircles the girl. Now I can hit delete, but that's not what I want to do, so let's go ahead and undo that. What I want to do is right click and select inverse here. That'll select everything else beyond the girl. And when I hit delete, boom, the background is gone. If I hit Control D to deselect, now you can see as we zoom in, the edges are nice and soft. And the reason why we want them soft is because the original picture was soft. The edges are soft on the original pictures. You see that? So now when we bring the background back on, I'm going to turn it back on, you can't tell the difference. See that? And that's on that bottom layer. We'll fix that background color later. First we want to do is take our new fixed upper layer and try to match the color of the original over here. So what I'm going to do is go to Enhance, Color, and then Adjust for Skin Tone. This will give us a new little box here. We have three adjustments: the tan, the blush, and the temperature. And basically what we want to do is change this temperature from a greenish to a more reddish. And we're going to take the eyedropper tool that's built into the tool and first click right here, and it's going to adjust this how it thinks is best to adjust it. So once we click on her skin with the left mouse button, it just changed her temperature to a little bit more on the red side. Now if we want to take some of the green out, we take some of the tan out. If I bring in tan, it brings in more green. If I take tan out, you'll see it takes green out, and it gives us more of a cooler temperature. And now this is looking a lot more like this side here. Now if we wanted to bring back a little bit of temperature, I can bring this back, and look what it does. It brings in the yellows. So now we're going to bring that back to the blues until we're happy that it's close to this one. I just move it over little by little, and that's looking good right around there. And to compare, I can hit the preview button. Watch, she's going to turn green. Boom. Look how green she was. That's the original. And what we did is this. And now it's looking a lot more closer to what it was before. So that's how you change the color temperature. Now what we want to do is create these sun highlights. So how do we do this? We got to blow out one copy of this. That's right, we got to make another copy. So now I'm going to go up here, right click, and hit duplicate layer. And we make a third copy. Now I'm going to turn off the middle copy, and now we got just the top copy. This is going to be her most used portion, but we want to cut out little holes in here that's going to match these sunspots. So we'll take the soft eraser, and let's make this big, like a 40 point or so. And you can see that there's some sunspots here, so guess what? We're going to add some sunspots there too. Then she's got some here, a little bit bigger. Let's do this at about 70. And we can add that right there. And what we're doing is we're erasing here where there's sunspots here, trying to match that. And if we want to use the smudge brush, we can do that a little bit so it doesn't change too much. And then go back to the eraser, and this whole side down here is blown out like that. And that includes part of her face here, right around here, and a little bit spot. If I make this about 30 point, see up here she's got this spot on the eyebrow. If we kind of do this right there and then go back up again to about a 50% brush, we want to get this spot right here, which is right around here, and then it's kind of dark in here, but the far edge here is bright, so we're going to blow this out here. Now the whole shoulder is out, so this is too small. Let's go ahead and get like a 75 point eraser. See how close that is? So now we're just going to blow this out by erasing that portion of the shoulder. And then from here it gets really fat. So let's do like a 150 point and kind of go like this. See that? So it kind of matches. And as we bring the picture down, we can see it's fatter here, those sunspots, and then it gets smaller here. So it's fatter here, the sunspots, and then it gets smaller here. So it's just that edge, the little parts of the red here, boom, and then down here just a little bit like that. And that's pretty much what we're going to blow out. How are we going to do that? By turning on the previous layer underneath. Well, as soon as I turn this on right here, watch what happens. Boom, it comes back, it fills it in, almost as if it never happened. But that bottom layer now that we can see through is exactly what we're going to use to blow out the sunspots. How? We'll go to Enhance, Lighting, Brightness, and watch what happens. I can make the contrast higher and lower, and look what's happening. I can make those spots darker or make them brighter. Then I could take the brightness and do the same thing, darker or brighter. Now it's really looking like a real sunspot, very similar to this. Kind of play around with it until you got a happy medium, because you don't want to do it too much. Here's the before, after, before, after. And I think we like that. I think now all we got to do is just add a little color to it. So we'll go to Enhance, Color, Hue, Saturation, and we can take the saturation out completely. As you can see, it made it black and white. Or we can add color and watch this reddish come back into her hair right here. Look at that. I'm blowing it out too much, but just as an example. So let's go ahead and find some happy medium right around here, like that. That's looking pretty good, and we'll hit OK. And finally, let's turn the background back on. And here's our background. Now, the only thing is the background is still kind of in the greenish tone. You can see the water looks green where this one is kind of bluish purple. So let's go ahead and grab that back layer and go to Enhance, Color, Hue, Saturation once again. And because that's a little bluer, let's bring these over into the blues over here. See what's happening? I can bring it all the way over there, or I can bring it all the way to this side, and you can see how the color is shifting. So let's go ahead and bring it over here like that. In the saturation, we go black and white. Watch what happens, or we blow it out. That's where you really see the difference. So we want to kind of match that. Right around there at -20. And then the lightness, we can just adjust that because you can see that this top version is blown out up here, but you can see detail here. So let's go ahead and do the same thing with this one. We'll bring it up until that background is nice and blown out. And look at that. It's looking pretty darn close to each other. You almost can't tell the difference. Here's the before and after. It's subtle, but it works. And finally, we just take that top layer once again, and let's work a little bit on the contrast because this one's a little more contrast. So we go over to Enhance, Lighting, Brightness and Contrast, and I'll just kind of give it a little bit more contrasty so that it matches the one on the left, which is kind of around there. And then the brightness, kind of do a final adjustment right around there. And there we go. This one's pretty darn close to this one. And that's it for this tutorial. This is Rich, calling it quits, saying over and out.